And Ruto nipped this in the bud. He saw what Gachagua was doing, and he saw this as a challenge, a 2027 challenge to his presidency. Because if Gachagua was given free rein, if he was allowed to build a massive support in Mount Kenya as he was building, he would have become a threat to the president automatically. And no president wants that. No president wants a powerful deputy. And that cuts across the entire world. Obama did not want a powerful deputy. That is why he went for Biden. George Saitoti could not survive another year with Moi when he became too vocal, too powerful, and too smart. Moi only wanted vice presidents, and the same applies to Uhuru Kenyatta. Vice presidents he could control.
Disclaimer: the opinions expressed by our esteemed guest on this show is solely their own and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Plug TV, its affiliates, or the production team. We kindly request our viewers to approach the opinions shared on this show with an open mind, considering them as individual viewpoints rather than absolute truths. We encourage you to conduct further research and engage in conversations beyond this program to form a well-rounded understanding of the topics discussed.
And agreed. It acquiesced, it consented to theft and corruption in Nyeri County. And he said this guy was corrupt, yes, but the allegations do not bear enough weight to take him down. I mean, Plug, what is more weighty than a corruption case? It is in history, it is in records that he was corrupt. So whatever Gachagua is trying to defend is stolen money. And it also does not make sense that Gachagua has inherited close to 3/4 of the estate of his late brother, while his late brother's wife is still alive and his late brother's children are working in this country. How comes he's inherited half of what his brother owned, and his immediate family, the wife and the kids, seem to have inherited almost nothing? It doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense that his brother had 80 apartments, millions in cash, and so many hotels and properties across this country. Because if you do the math, there is no investment that you would put down in 10 years that would give you billions of money. There is no investment. So these guys want to sanitize themselves from corruption and sweeten corruption, sweeten it to Kenyans and make it a lesser evil. While we know it is one of the biggest evils in this country. I would say, apart from murder, corruption is the second biggest vice in this country. Because how would you have the confidence of stealing money that we've contributed? Because tax and all sources of revenue of government come from us as the people. So government money is our money. If you have the audacity to steal our money, you should actually be hanged. That is actually treason. But they want to make it a lesser crime. They want to sweeten it. They want to soften it. They want to massage it. It is as bad as it is, and I will call it out as it is. Corruption is bad. So we have a guy who was a one-term MP who's been impeached and is struggling to recover. And he possibly got here because he did not have a political party. The rest of the Mount Kenya leaders should have been shrewd enough to have advised Gachagua to form a political party that coalesces Mount Kenya around him before he was made deputy president. Because he's gotten to this point since the president feels Gachagua does not have the support. How many MPs can Gachagua marshal? You already saw he was unable to marshal the National Assembly. How many senators can Gachagua call to book? How many senators can he command in this country? He does not have a political outfit. He does not have the numbers. He is as weak as the president perceives him. And all the big talk about Usiguze Mrima, the big talk about he's a truthful man, the big talk about how possibly he has the muscle to move Mount Kenya politics is part of a big conspiracy. He does not have the muscle at this point. probably will build one before 2027, but he does not have it. In fact, I will shock you that Uhuru Kenyatta has more of Central and more support in Central than Rigathi Gachagua, because Uhuru has a party and Uhuru built himself in the 10 years he was president. In the 5 years, the one term that Gachagua was MP, he did not build himself. And the years before that, because Gachagua in his is he 60 or 59? In his 59 years, he should have gotten into politics earlier. He should have built a profile for himself before 2022. With a good profile, he would have had a political party. With a good profile, he would be in good standing with Central. With a good profile, he would have possibly had an agreement with Uhuru, because Uhuru would have seen him as an equal. Uhuru does not respect Gachagua. Possibly he has to start respecting him now, because possibly out of sympathy or empathy, or because they have a common enemy they need to tackle. But he does not respect him. He does not have the ground. And that is what Gachagua was trying to do. He was trying to build a ground in Mount Kenya. He was trying to endear himself to the mountaineers and to show them that he's clobbering for what is good to them. He wanted to show them that he has their interests at heart, and he thinks about them every other time. He wants them to have government positions. He wants them to have government resources. He wants them to have a bigger share in the national cake, because, as according to him, they delivered votes, which are tribal votes. But that was his thinking. And Ruto nipped this in the bud. He saw what Gachagua was doing, and he saw this as a challenge, a 2027 challenge to his presidency. Because if Gachagua was given free rein, if he was allowed to build a massive support in Mount Kenya as he was building, he would have become a threat to the president automatically. And no president wants that. No president wants a powerful deputy. And that cuts across the entire world. Obama did not want a powerful deputy. That is why he went for Biden. He had other options. He claims that Biden was more seasoned and experienced as a politician, but that is not the reason. Biden is a Bosco, umbo wa kubweka, lakini mambo ikichemuka anaingia kwa kitanda. Biden does not have a spine for politics. And that is what presidents want. They want deputies and vice presidents who they can control.
Sorry to cut you short. Could that explain why during the Moi's tenure, kuna wakati George Saitoti was the vice president and he got kicked out?
George Saitoti could not survive another year with Moi when he became too vocal, too powerful, and too smart. Moi only wanted vice presidents, and the same applies to Uhuru Kenyatta. Vice presidents he could control. A vice president and a deputy president in Africa, according to the African way of thinking, should be at the beck and call of a president. Listen to what ODM was arguing in parliament the other day, that Gachagua voicing his dissent against government policies and texts that the president and the cabinet are making is seen as too stubborn, is seen as too aggressive, too abrasive, too combative. They do not want a deputy president who can challenge the president on policies that he differs with the president on. They want the deputy president to okay to everything the president says. They want the deputy president to sing for the president. They do not want a deputy president who has a spine to say no when something is wrong, who has a spine to say this will not hold water, who has a spine to stand his ground. They do not want that. They were saying at one point, we do not see the deputy in Gachagua. His work is to deputize the president. We do not see him deputizing the president. If deputizing the president is seeing the country burn when the president is stealing almost everything with his cabinet, if deputizing the president is overseeing the killing of innocent citizens, the Gen Zs who died on the streets, if deputizing the president is overseeing abductions and extrajudicial killings, Gachagua was not comfortable with that, and possibly is doing that to please the Kenyan people and to show them that he was on their side. But then presidents do not want such kind of deputies. They want you to know what is wrong with this government and keep mum about it. They want you to shut your mouth about it. You cannot have a different opinion as a vice president, as a deputy president in Africa. And that is where the problem was. Gachagua was contradicting government in almost everything. Wachana hata na mambo ya shareholding, wachana hata na mambo ya tribal utterances, wachana hata na mambo ya corruption. That was not the issue. The issue was Gachagua was building himself for 2027. He was growing too popular. He was endearing himself himself with the masses, and he was gaining so much ground in Mount Kenya. That needed to be tamed, and they decided they wanted to tame him. They decided to tame him by impeaching him because they had tried all means and all means failed. They had sent folks to sit him down so that he and the president can read from the same book. That did not work. They tried to intimidate him. That did not work. I am sure they threatened to sue him. That did not work. So because this was a man you could not stop. I mean, the only option to Ruto was to impeach Gachagua because all other means had failed.
He was going to be a big threat in 2027. How?
It is obvious. If Uhuru Kenyatta decided to throw his entire support behind Gachagua, and the Mount Kenya business community decided to support Gachagua, all these central MPs that you see today with Ruto would have decamped from Ruto one by one to Gachagua in the fullness of time. Uhuru Kenyatta would have convinced and can still convince Kithure Kindiki today to drop whatever he is doing and support Gachagua. He has the ability to do that. The mountain still listens to Uhuru Kenyatta. They have now invited him. Did you not see that circulating poster and video of the Mount Kenya leaders who've been intelligent enough and visionary enough to want to start building unity for the mountain? They are already seeing how they are disintegrating, and as a region they cannot afford to disintegrate, because in their disunity they would get wiped off the national cake. They would get wiped off the face of this nation, and they have already realized that their disunity will be their downfall. They are now inviting Uhuru Kenyatta to unite their mountain on their behalf. They already know he still is the kingpin today. Gachagua is not the kingpin of Mount Kenya. There is no one else who speaks for Mount Kenya except Uhuru Kenyatta. And with his video circulating of how he warned them about how Ruto is bad and how they will cry, they will gnash their teeth with the decision they made in 2022. In retrospect, they see how stupid they were, and I'm saying this respectfully. They see how lost they were, and they see how they lost an opportunity to possibly avert the crisis we have today and possibly dodge the bullet who is William Ruto. And they see Uhuru Kenyatta as that guy, that leader who had their interests at heart, who was thinking about them and their succession and their position in power, even when he was off power, because he was exiting power. As a retiree, Uhuru has no interest in Kenyan politics. But they see now that he was thinking about them, that he was planning for succession for the Mount Kenya region, that he was planning on how they will always be on the national cake. And they see now that they gave power to the wrong guy, and he is punishing them. So Gachagua would have been made a power hub in Central.
And that would have given him the mass, or maybe to threaten William Ruto. If you don't do this to me, I'm going to withdraw and, form my own political party perhaps.
Siasa za shareholding hazijaanza na Gachagua. I would shock you that what Gachagua said is what we have always known and is what sticks to this day. There is a document that was signed by Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, President Ruto, Gachagua himself. I don't think there's anybody else. When they were forming that Kenya Kwanza thing, the agreement was, I am bringing these votes to the table and you are going to give me this. Was a shareholder government. That as Gachagua, I am bringing you 4 million votes from Central Region, so I am entitled to half the cabinet. I am entitled to these appointive positions. I am entitled to appointive positions of state consulars, diplomats, envoys, ambassadors, directors, say parastatal heads, general managers of state corporations. As Gachagua, because I brought 4 million votes. As Wetangula, because I'm bringing Western, I'm entitled to this. I want these sugar industries revamped and financed. I want you to deliver this amount of roads to Western. I want you to deliver this amount of say hospitals and schools to this region. As that was Musalia and Wetangula. Then there was Amason Kingi, I want you to deliver this for cost. Even though Gachagua tells us Amason Kingi negotiated for the speaker position he has today. Nah, that was it. Haku negotiate anything else for the coast region. So to put it into perspective, Ruto began this shareholder narrative. It is this. Kenya Kwanza was about Ruto to make him president. He was the drafter, the architect of the shareholding politics, and he stands by that. In a video in 2023, Ruto in Central Kenya chest thumped how he has delivered to Central what he promised them. He started listing government positions that is given to Central. He started listing resources and development programs that is taken to Central because there was a shareholder agreement. And he told them they are the biggest shareholders in his government. So how now do you vilify? How do you now crucify Gachagua for something his boss stands for something he don't even draft? Gachagua is a newbie in politics. He actually possibly did not actively participate in the drafting of the manifesto and the Kenya Kwanza document for sharing power. And it exists. It's a document that is alive today. So crucifying Gachagua on the shareholder manenos is going too far, too beyond. The issue they have with Gachagua is on his mobilization, on his organizing skills, on his rising popularity, and on his possible coronation as tribal kingpin of the Mount Kenya people. That is where the problem is. And Ruto sees this as a threat to the 4 million votes he wants to get from Central. And he has already seen that Central is moving away from him to possibly morph around Gachagua or Uhuru Kenyatta. And he sees that his votes in Central are dwindling. And because he does not want Central to unite under one guy, he would possibly deal with that guy so that Central is left scattered in pieces and possibly has two presidential candidates. The same that happened with Matiba and Kibaki in the 90s. Because if that happens, Central will not unite under one person and they will not speak with one voice and they will not be a deciding factor in the 2027 politics. It's all about succession. If it is about corruption, Gachagua is not the only corrupt politician. Why has he not impeached Wetangula? Because Wetangula is corrupt. I mean, he's been in power for so long. Almost every politician in this country is corrupt. If it is about corruption, the MPs that move around Ruto are corrupt. They have misappropriated CDF funds. If it is about corruption, almost everyone around Ruto is corrupt, from the senators to the MPs to the governors, those that probably fund UDA and fund the grassroots elections and mobilization of the party. If it is about public utterances that have probably undermined national unity and cohesion, the president has been on record issuing statements that are vindictive to a certain tribe. The president is on record attacking Ndegwa Muhoro, the CID chief, back in, was it 2017 or 2018? Ruto is on record threatening judges and saying 7 judges cannot overturn the will of the people and they cannot decide on behalf of 50 million Kenyans. He is on record issuing statements way worse than Gachagua. So it is not about Gachagua's public utterances. It is not about Gachagua's corruption. It is his growing political influence in Central Kenya and how he is a threat in 2027. And the fact that he was willing and he has repeated that he is willing, because it is rumored, is repeatedly, according to William Kamket, is repeatedly issued threats that Ruto is a one-term president, and possibly was making steps towards making Ruto a one-term president, possibly buoyed by the 4 million votes he has in Central. He feels he has what it takes to take on Ruto if he decides and if he manages to get Central behind him. So it was about succession politics. And see, this gives us or gives Ruto well, to us Gen Zs, it gives us an opportunity to take away Ruto, because we want Ruto gone and Gachagua gone. If they manage to impeach Gachagua successfully at the Senate and the courts do not save him, that gives us an opportunity as Gen Zs to take away Ruto. Because if we decided and if we had managed to take Ruto out, whether by forcing him to resign or by storming State House or by whichever other means, probably a constitutional means, because I stand for the constitution, that would take Ruto out of power, we would still have to deal with Gachagua as deputy president. It was a two-way problem. It was a double-sided predicament. Now that Ruto has dealt with Gachagua for us, why not take him out? I mean, we wanted Ruto and Gachagua gone. He has taken out Gachagua for us. And that is why I'm happy with this impeachment. Not because I support Ruto or the government, but because I know the government has dealt with one of their own and they have given us a a rope to hang the other one. You've seen Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga. I know they can possibly arrest me for this, but to be honest, we want Ruto out and Gachagua out. So if Ruto helps us by dealing with Gachagua, that makes it easier for us to take out Ruto. It makes us easier to demonstrate on the streets, to push for the resignation of Ruto, and it makes us easier to compel our MPs to impeach Ruto. We now have one problem, not two problems. It is like killing two birds with one stone. So it is a blessing to us as Gen Zs that he has dealt with Gachagua. But to Gachagua, this is bad news to his political career, because he's left with an option to try and salvage himself in Senate by trying to convince 17 MPs either to abstain from voting on that day, to convince them to vote no, or to convince them not to vote. And that is why he has a mountain to climb. Because I have told you, Gachagua does not have the numbers. And he never had the numbers. He was trying to build the numbers, and Ruto understood that. So Gachagua has an uphill task ahead of him. I don't think he will succeed in convincing the senators not to impeach him or to uphold his impeachment. But if he does succeed, that will give Ruto another headache, because you have a guy here who you wanted to take out but has survived.
Still in government.
Has survived. He has NIS briefing, he has security from government, he has money, he has influence, and he's building a name for himself in Central, and he has all the reason to be vindictive and vengeful against you because you wanted to take him out. So if Gachagua survives, Ruto has a headache. But if he doesn't survive, he has to go to the courts. And if the courts decide, Senate and the National Assembly were in order to impeach you, his political career is dead. I don't know where he goes after that, but then that would be the issue. But if he's impeached, the president has a chance to play with the political psyche of this country. He has a chance to control the temperament, the mood, the tone, and the political atmosphere of this country, the political climate, because he has a position he can bargain for with almost every community in this country. He approaches the Luo community with the DP position. Hey, do you want this position? He approaches the Eastern community. Hey, Kalonzo, do you want this position? He approaches the people from Northeastern. Hey, Duale, do you want this position? You are vocal enough. You are man enough. You are a politician enough. He approaches the coastal region people and asks them, who do you think should be my deputy? He has a position he can play about with for the next 3 months or 4 months till the verdict on and the elections, the AUC elections, are concluded in May next year. He has a position he can basically bargain with the entire country, and he is going to use this position to hold Kenya hostage. He is not in a hurry to meet. I don't think Ruto is in a hurry to appoint a deputy president.
So just a minute, what's your prediction? Currently, we have names that have been forwarded for, just in case Gachagua is impeached. We have Aden Duale. Perhaps he has the muscle to bring for all the votes in Northeastern. We have Mudavadi, the western part. We have Kindiki, the central part. According to your own prediction, among all these mentioned candidates, who do you think stands a chance to be the DP? Ama, what's your prediction at the end of the day?
I was to use the word warrior, but then nikakumbuka Duale said warrior to him is a disrespectful word. So to all my Somali friends out there, I am saying this with a lot of love. This country has not yet moved past tribalism. We've not owned up to our mistakes. We've not owned up to our one-sidedness. We've not outgrown our, let's say, I'm trying to euphemize this so that it does not sound bad for millions of Kenyans out there. But we've not grown out of our cocoons of tribalism. We've not gotten there. I would shock you, Plug, that even among the Gen Zs we have, they are still tribal. People think that the Gen Z age group, the Gen Z demographic, is the demographic in Kenya that does not have tribal fellows. I would shock you that they are still tribal. As a Gen Z myself, I'm saying this from my interactions with most of them. Let me shock you that I was sharing these sentiments about Gachagua and his impeachment and why he should be impeached. Not that I support government, I've reiterated that so many times, but because we need to take both of them home. So if Ruto deals with Gachagua, we can deal with Ruto too. But then I was arguing with, imagine, media personnel, content creators, activists, journalists who are supporting, who are not supporting who are supporting Gachagua and opposing Ruto for impeaching Gachagua because Gachagua ni mtu wao. The ridiculousness in that they are saying, hata mseme ukabila imeisha, hata mseme sisi Gen Z hatuna ukabila, amtatuambia mtaguza mlima, mtaguza Gachagua wetu na tunyamaze. Sisi hatujafurahia vile mnatoa Gachagua kwa serikali. Sasa sisi hata kama sisi ni Gen Zs, sisi hiyo maneno tumekataa. And you would imagine that coming from journalists, media personalities, professionals and intellectuals, and the generation that is perceived to be less tribal or completely non-tribal. It is shocking. And that is why I'm saying we still have a long way to go. So, as I was saying, my Somali brothers, according to me, if Ruto has to consider the matrix tribally, because the old-timer politicians still analyze the Kenyan population on tribal basis. That is how they galvanize support. That is how they campaign. That is how they mobilize. If he has to look at those numbers, the Somali people cannot deliver those numbers to him. How many Somalis do we have in this country? How many are registered voters? How many actually vote? How many are they?
It's not actually Somalis, the northern eastern part. I think it's quite big and they have the muscles to do that.
The northern eastern part, I'm saying this with a lot of love, is a huge region with a small population. That is part of the reason why the Kikuyu people have never acquiesced and agreed. I will take that back. This is part of the reason why the Kikuyu people were pushing the mantra of one vote, one man, one shilling. You remember that discussion?
Yeah.
That discussion was so that a region like Kiambu, that is so populous, is supposed to be divided into more constituencies as opposed to Garissa, which is a large landmass with a smaller population. So they were saying, as Central, we feel we more populous than the other regions, and we are overcrowded, and our population does not get resources that are equal to the number we are. We feel like we are 2 million people receiving 20,000 vis-a-vis 2,000 people who are receiving the same 20,000. So you see, that was where the discussion was. So they are saying CDF money ranges between 100 million to 150, 180 million shillings in constituencies across the country. So they were asking, why does a constituency in Garissa get 100 million, yet that constituency serves around 30,000 people, whereas we have a constituency in Kiambu that has close to 2 million people or less or thereabout, but receives 150 million. So that was the mathematics. We have counties in Northeastern that are receiving around 11 billion shillings, and counties around Central that are receiving around 12